Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the canyon. Welcome back to another, the second part of the Trail Runner. We're here for more Trail Runner nonsense. In betwixt then and then now, we have arrived at some decisions, which is, if we gon' do, we might as well gon' do. So, motor, first and foremost, obviously, and it's just genuinely easier to just pull the gearbox out, and we need to change those 6% gears to the 12% gears. So we might as well do that while we're here. And Stealth X is particularly easy to work on. I also want, little tight boy up there in the front. I would also like to, we're going to get to that servo. I would like to see what that involves. The servo, I have taken a glance, mounts from the bottom. It is probably, honestly, going to be easier to just pull the battery tray. We don't need a battery tray this big anyway. And I've been looking at it and wondering, we typically run a battery about like this size. I think we can get that in there. It might be a little offset, like to get the wire past the servo, but I have some trays. We might be able to just stick a tray down just like that. And I think it moves it up a little bit, but it also moves it quite a bit forward, which is probably going to help our bias. I'm kind of leaning towards just retaining as much of this thing's DNA as we can. Like I don't feel a need to change links, to change any of that. We really like the body. We're big fans of the body. If you've done one, you've done 100. Getting the gearbox out of this is, I have to remember, long in the middle, short to the outside. For those with no prior experience with the Stealth X, we'll just leave that one in there. With the Stealth X gearbox, they colorfully use one of those 14s, maybe 16s, and then the outers of these little ones like this. And if you're not paying attention, when you go to install this back into your vehicle, and you get them reversed, and you put the long ones over here and the short ones over here, they go right through the case and into one of the output gears. And then you will either have clickiness, or alternately and more often than not, you will have not workiness. So, plastic slipper eliminators, your usual 18 tooth, all of the usual Stealth things. Woo, buddy. They did not, that's RTR stuff. They did not want those moving. Let's see, will it give us the rewarding? No. We didn't get a crack out of it. This will go into the special container. That's a lot of thread lock on there. This will go into the special container that is reserved for, there, we got a little pop on that one, that is reserved for recrawlers. They definitely got thread lock on the washers, because those didn't want to come out. We're gonna poke it out from the back. Oh. Yeah, there we go. So, as I've lamented in the past, there's usually some amount of resistance when you try to do that. There is essentially no resistance. And we take another 18 and we throw it in the gear drawer. So weak. So weak. We'll get that gearbox pulled apart here in a moment. What we got to finish. I prefer to get all of the OE bits out first. Man, Is that a blast from the past, man? Antenna tube. Oh, and it's functional, man. They put the antenna in the tube. I mean, not all the way into the tube. That's not a lot of antenna. How far? I wonder how far they anticipate us getting away. Pop these two. So I think I mentioned, I'm pretty sure I mentioned, I was leaning towards AGFRC 32 kg, the A73 red case, because I have a couple of them that aren't in service right now. And I think at this juncture, we're still taking the OE bits out, but I think during the removal of the OE bits, I think that's still the direction we're going to go. Get a little side torque on this. Pop that little boy off. Is that the fourth channel? I've never looked closely at these receivers. There's one coming out the side. As I said, XP130, it's not a bad radio. It's not like it's full of features, but in terms of what they're giving us, oh, I love when the tape comes off with the speed control. There we go. Oh, that goes in the special bin with those. We'll offer this up at some time in the future. I know folks kind of have I don't know what I might classify as a soft spot for the XP130s. Just don't use them in the rain, as my neighbor learned. His XP130, it's all, if you've never seen one up close, it's all open. It's just, these are straight to a pot. They're just potentiometers on the top. And the switches are just open electronic switches. So he used his on a rainy day. And the rain got into the top of it, and it went insane. The rig would just be like, bah! And then it would go, ah! And then the wheels would go, ah! And then it would go. It was like it was possessing. But up until the time of the possession, it worked great. I'm hoping that, yeah, there's it. See, that's just convenient. Like, I'm on board for that. I think probably easiest to take the drive shaft all the way out. It's not terrible. There's nothing about it that's terrible, you know? This one's going to be a little trickier to get out of here. And then you have the constant question of how close are we going to get the horn to line up? I think if we turn the steering that way, we should be able to get that out. They were liberal with the thread lock. Like I can't even get that out of the rod, because how about this guy? I would like to reuse the same horn. We will just dial in sub trim if need be. That's not too bad, because these horns are steel. Let's see, magnet. Yeah, these horns are confirmed. These horns are steel. They do love washers, and I guess that's a choice of economy. I know the newer kits that have come out since have the big, you know, like what comes in a Vanquish or what comes in anything. Just a big, what would that head be called? Pan head, cheese head, truss head. They've got big flat heads on them, so it's like they have a built-in washer. This is pretty easy to get in and out. Easier than I thought it was going to be. Of course, we get caught up because I was just talking to someone about how we're almost a quarter of the way, everybody, into the 21st century, and every servo still has the wire coming out the same side as the spline, which means in virtually every vehicle, you're at the front with the horn going this way, so that the wire is aiming out the front instead of aiming back towards. And I realize this is crawler stuff. because when they were laid down in things like rustlers, then it's aiming the correct direction. But in this day and age, inspired by this, the little pennies there, how hard would it be to have the servo case just have 3 pins coming out there and 3 pins coming out there, and you can just plug a double-ended wire into the side that works after you install the servo? How about give us 4? Put it there, and there. How, honestly, well, truly, and genuinely, how hard could that be? I don't know. Maybe harder than I'm letting on. Dug through the bin. There were 2 servos to choose. We've got an older Reefs RC422 HD, and I was like, maybe. Titanium gears, 422 ounces. 422 ounces is in that 30... I realize there's a calculator right here. That is 30 kilo. So I think 444, 450 is 32 kilo, and we've got the aforementioned A73, and it will get the call sign to the bullpen because it's got ass. So apparently that is lost on them. We will get this popped in. Let's see if indeed installation is the reverse of removal. Little softer, shorter wire out on there, and the only thing you ever question is, will the ears line up? And yeah, that guy fits right in. So we don't have a problem with that. That's a part. Watching me try to finagle 4 screws in and get a horn back on and get a horn centered. We can't get the horn centered anyway because we've got to get the receiver installed. We're just going to be pairing it to one of the RC4s that is here. We have a bench Radiolink RC4GS, which is slave to about 5 rigs right now, because we have a lot of visitor rigs and or build rigs, and they don't have their own radios. So he's the guy. It should, yes, well and truly, it should be replaced with an RC6 because it will control the same receivers, but I'll have extra channels should I need extra channels. I can't remember off the top of my head if I even need to remove this. I don't think I needed to remove that to get this the rest of the way apart. But it will allow us to exhibit how easy it is to change the gears in this. Yes, the Stealth X and the Stealth X by extension, they are big chunky boys because there's a lot of gears in there. It's a 5-gear. 7 if you count spur and pinion. We try to get all the pieces to stay over on that side. Well, we got all but 2 bearings, so that's pretty good. The genius of the Stealth X, you have a top shaft comes in, drives an intermediate shaft that has 2 gears on it, and they are pinned to the shaft, but they don't touch each other. And then you have what makes the thing work, which is this boy right here, which is bearings in the middle, and you've got a bigger one and a smaller one. And what this does, because this gearbox is set up reverse, so the spur gear aims to the back, so this is the back of the vehicle, so we have a bigger gear in the back and a smaller one in the front. And because they're being spun by 2 different size gears up here, you have automatic underdrive. To get 6%, this is a 2652, and this is a 2753. So it's 1 tooth on the top gear and 1 tooth on the main gear. And you replace that with a, yes, you guessed it correctly. Can we get in close enough to focus? A 2654. So then we add, we take a tooth from here and we add a tooth to here, and that's it. That's all you got to do. Don't do this at home. No, I'm gonna do 2 things that you shouldn't do. Resist the urge to use power is the thing that you should do, because these are going into nylon, and I have extended from assembling things that are difficult to assemble. They call them hydraulic thumbs because you can grasp things as tightly as possible. Disassembling this gear is not a problem because it's already been basically powered together. What I am going to do is the part that you should not do, which is I'm going to assemble this in the same method, but these holes are not tapped. And you have every opportunity to snap your driver or one of the screws. So we'll operate under the guise of looking like you know what you're doing for the purposes of recording is almost as good as knowing what you're doing. Ooh, I felt the deflection on the driver on that one. I will also dig bin behind me and see if we can't ping and see if we can't get. Now you'll be able to see one tooth. One tooth does make a difference. And they do make a even bigger. They make an 18%, where you go to 25-55, so you take another tooth and give another tooth. And I will tell you now, it just fits. It just fits. Basically, if you put the wrong screws into the bottom, it's not going to fit anymore, because it will deform the case enough that you won't be able to get it put back together. Ask me how I know. I had to grind the inside of a case right here, because you can see where there's the galley where the screw goes up, and it comes in right here. It's tough to avoid. Let's see. Well, it's easy to avoid if you just pay close attention, and sometimes I don't. Oh, they've pulled apart. Okay, we'll do grease from the bottom then. This is enthralling, I know. Still CV joint grease. I have tried, you can see them on the back of the bench there. I have tried a great many greases. These guys right here. Stay Lube. CV joint grease. CV joint grease is not like your typical. It is not a bearing grease. Don't put it on bearings. It is a grease for splines and teeth. And let me tell you why. We're all here. Let me tell you why. Because CV joint grease, relative to, that doesn't look right. Doesn't look right. Oh, because it's backwards. CV. Okay. Let me finish a thought before I put this thing together. CV joint grease has a quantity of molybdenum, the really slick stuff. It has a quantity of molybdenum that you cannot put in a bearing grease, because it will make things so slick that the bearings will stop rotating and they will just slide. So this is counter to what you want a ball bearing to do. It is acceptable on gears and splines because they won't sling it off. Now I'm double questioning. No, 2753. I took the one off. I do get the forward-backward thing mixed up a lot. I'm not 100% sure why. Maybe the battery placement. We of course greased it. We greased it up real nice. Maybe the battery placement is why they opted to put this guy reverse. I don't know. They're about half one way and half the other. And it is a different top shaft to run for reverse, so you can't bolt this in the other way, because then you'll have front underdrive. I like that all of the screws to hold the halves together are the same length. That is very considerate. I also did, as I said I would, I located some slipper bits in the bin from old Team Associated slippers. And my only hope is that the spring and spacer that I have are, there it is. Get that grease distributed. These are all vintage pieces practically. And we got Got the 87. We're going to stick with the 87. I don't see any reason not to stick with the 87. Big old pad. The big old pads. So this boy on here. Here's the question mark. Will it be too long? We're going to have to go to a shorter spring. Or, alternately, maybe not. Maybe not. No, I think, okay, because like I say, for a slipper, oh, that spring might be a little long. We might be overlocked. Like we'll be too far down, and then we're not going to get any slipper action out of it, particularly with how big that pad is. I am going to dig the bin and see if we don't have something shorter. I could not find a shorter spring. I did find just going to a regular 4mm lock nut with a washer under it, drew it back a little shorter. We should still have enough engagement on the nylon that we don't have to worry about it backing out. And the one thing that I can tell you for sure is I must have found 10 slipper springs that I didn't even know that I was missing. We'll get this guy clocked the way we think will be all right. Probably those right there. I found the screws that I was looking for, including, you know, whatever the head is called. Here's the little short ones. The servo is already attached down. I found them all collectively. I keep them in the same. I have a whole big drawer of them. We just want to make sure it's not too long. Yes. The mounting holes in the Fusion cases are pretty short. That torque was way too high. That was snap a screw torque. Let's get this put in here. We're gonna go with a 22 tooth pinion. It's a ProTech, and I'm no great fan of the ProTech pinions, but when they get up to this size, they're pretty good. In a 22, you're pretty usable. And we should be able to fit 2287. It should be kind of towards the end of the amount of adjustability that we actually have. I don't like the beveled gears. I'm wondering if I can actually fit it the other way, but that looks pretty good. Yeah, we'll be able to get a good mesh on this. And with an aluminum pinion, I strongly prefer Robinson for pinions of any kind. It is, and here's why I don't like the ProTechs. In the smaller sizes, the set screw sticks up enough that it can really interfere with your gear mesh, and you can get the set screw rubbing on your spur gear and ruin your spur gear. With a 22, we don't have as big of a worry, but I will also, there we go. I will see if we can get it to focus on this, because we're going to have to get in pretty tight. That's a little loose on the mesh. It's nearly impossible to tell, because see the beveled edge? I need to see the relationship between these teeth. So, I mean, it's close. It's not going to drop out. It looks like it's way worse than it is. You kind of have to look really straight down through the teeth to be able to tell, did I get it? I think this gearbox, as set up, would fit a 24. And I mean, you just do the math. You just divide 87 by your current gear, get that ratio, take the whatever spur you want to put on, I'll multiply that and see where you're coming out. Yeah, because I could go down to like an 81, and then you'd probably be on an 18 again. 87 divided by 22 is 3.95454545, infinitely repeating. So we would take, let's say we did 81 divided by 3.95. So that'd be an 8120. So it's not really that big of a deal. So I'm just going to run 2287. It's where we want to be. And we're going to remind ourselves. What are we going to remind ourselves? We're going to remind ourselves that the long screws go on the inside, and that the do-jobby points towards the back. Because there's still every opportunity here to install the gearbox backwards. And put the wrong screws in it and fulfill my own prophecy of messing up my own stuff. Now we're at a quandary, equal parts quandary and conundrum. I want to get. Now let's just do it this way. Okay, I'm just going to plug this into channel 1. Great signal. We're gonna, without hooking this up, we're gonna plug this into channel 2. What, anybody want to lay bets on whether or not we're gonna have to reverse motor rotation? Because we probably are. We're gonna grab a batteries. Plug this in here. I need a small pokey because we're doing ID seed. Turn that on. Do this. There we go. We quiet? Okay, it's definitely calibrated in reverse. Honestly, I think we could be quieter, but we're not worried about it. This is a brand new channel. We're on Model 5 for this radio, so I don't have to worry about the servo being out of whack. Hey, look. Does anybody think the gyro's on? It's reminding me why that why that receiver was in the bin. Gyro mix, inhibit, mode, rate, and then you just. Oh wait, we have to. You got to go back to on. Turn it on, and then we'll change the mode to standard, and then turn it all the way down. This is what has worked for me. I know there's like a way to long hold it and get it to turn off, and then we turn it inhibit. Okay, now, yeah. I've never used drift in it. Drift was in my head. I've never used gyro except in the drift car that I'm still tinkering with and trying to figure out if it's a pursuit. It's fun. I don't have any place to do it, but it's fun. And it needs a gyro, rear-wheel drive drift. That looks pretty dead. That looks pretty dead centered in there. And easy peasy, we're using the same. Oh. Now let's just do this. Don't put screws on stuff that's energized, particularly like steering servos, because this is an excellent way to break tools. We're just going to use a ball end so we can sneak around that boy right there. We're going to have to set some endpoint, and we are going to have to sub-trim. It looks like a little, because the thing that would reside inside me that would desire to get under there and adjust that link so that we don't have to sub-trim out, that part's not here. He's not at work today. He called in sick, and he's like, just put it together. I am building up a fairly substantial pile of screws here that are uncategorized in any way. These are the gearbox. Okay. We're not going to put the gear cover back on. I tend not to run them. I don't run them whenever possible. And yeah. Here, let's get these two screws back in. We'll get this gearbox. We'll get this flipped over so we can get the gearbox put in it. I got a little zesty on that. There we go. And now we might as well turn this down, turn that off, so that we can. How did I do that? We'll unplug these. All right. Box. Bish bosh. This guy goes right there. Change my bits again. There will be a shortcut here while I get these screws put in. As Gavin Rossdale famously said, it's the little things that kill. And in this situation is no different. The slidey bit, the aluminum bit, the shiny bit that you can see right there, it's about 2 millimeters too long. So we have a drive shaft that effectively doesn't change length, because once it's put in, we've got IFS. No amount of suspension travel is going to change the length of this, whereas this is dynamic. It moves up and down. So what they didn't do was they have standard lengths. I think it's 3 different lengths of the inner part, and they just take the inner one that's close, and they slap it together. Now, where that ends us up, I can't find the other half of this drive shaft. Does anybody see it? Do y'all remember where I put it? Because I don't see it at all. It's still attached to the vehicle. So you cannot get the front drive shaft on without detaching the gearbox. Whereas this one, look at the amount of gap. That is, I mean, honestly, it's plenty of engagement, but it's more gap than I like to leave. I want to gap my drive shafts when I'm assembling a drive shaft to fit a build. I want this to be able to slide back just far enough to disengage it. This has got a 1/2 inch, so I don't know if it's enough. Yeah, see, we get this, because we could have another 1/2 inch of engagement. Watch the amount of silver that's showing. We need like 5 millimeters of collapse, and we've got 16, 17 millimeters showing. Whereas in the front, we have this amount showing. There's no vertical play in this, because that little fella is like a toiger. He can't go any further. Is there any? Oh, there's no tack left in the tape. Well, let's see if there's tack left in the factory tape. There is. Press. And now we're just using the factory. Oh, we'll pop this off real quick. So we do exactly what we did before. Definitely easier to do this. This wiring's gonna be pretty clean. Let's get this guy wrapped the right way. And it's the little things. That's it. That was a quick callback. I don't remember. Did the other one come out the... Was that... What direction did the wire come? It came out that side. It crossed over like that. There's only one way it'll fit, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I can't, what is it? Oh, I can't even afford to pay attention. All right, I'm going to get that zipped in place. There's no need to, we can recap the wire cleanerizing. We don't need to sit through this. And what was I doing last? Cleaning up wires? Was I cleaning up wires? The wire cleanup was as easy as anything. I put a zip tie here and I put 2 there. 3 zip ties. We have 2 channels. It's not a problem. Went through the programmer box. Got everything set up. Got my drag brake where I kind of like it. Made sure my cutoff. Turned up the BEC was at 6 volts and now it's at 7.4. So, we got some stuff there. I changed the pinion. Well, a great regret in my life is buying any of these ProTech pinions, because yeah, they're functional and they work just fine. Digging through the bins looking for something, located a Robinson aluminum pinion, and like okay. When this thing's rolling around on the ground, it is incredibly quiet. I think I have the slipper adjusted just about right. I think everything is good. Oh, yeah. If you see the Negosaurus on the bench, which are screw removing pliers, they'll take pretty much anything out of anything. You know that we stripped something out. I stripped out the motor mount screw down here because I was trying to use the nice little pretty flathead ones. My ordinary is I use these, the conical washers with a big, these are treated. They use some sort of treatment on the, so they're higher than grade 12.9. They're basically as hard as you can go. That's pretty much what I use for, and they 2.5 millimeters. So here's my insertion tool. We just go straight in from the back. I've never stripped one of those things out, and honestly, I probably will never be able to. I ground a little bit off of the lip of the front tray because the tray had a lip going all the way around it. Where's my box of screws? That is later me's problem. So ground a little lip off and then just use the included battery strap, servo tape that down. It's got a nice little position, wires nice and clean and out of the way. When I had first attempted to put it on, and we got to keep a nubbin, got to have a little nubbin on there. If anything on these shocks, I might convert them over to little springs, as we have plenty of springs, little springs that are so tense that, like, what are we going to use them for? Like the blues, like, although I don't know, these might be pretty stiff. I had a worry before placing this on. I was like, are we still going to clear the body? And it's not even close. Like, it is. There's plenty of room up there. So yeah, oh man, we put a pinstripe on there. So yeah, we can't. Oh no, we can't run a winch. We got rid of this. We got rid of this. So if anything, where we sit now, we should be slightly lighter than we were before. We've removed some spring weight. It's very Spartan in there in the interior. And now that I've tinkered with it, I'm coming around to this transverse way back servo mounting. It's easy and convenient. So we are going to take both sets of tires. We're going to grab the bag. Should still be right behind me. It is. You know what we do? We film. We come inside. We just throw the stuff on the bench. There's a reason the camera only points right here. What's behind me is not great. Set these up here. Replace them in the bag with the 419 Tusks. We'll see. I mean, these will probably be fine. Like, yeah, it's fine. It's black and red. Black and red. Who doesn't like black and red together? But, I don't know. I got a soft spot for these. Oh, I wonder if these would... That's not bad. It's not bad at all. Look at that. Hey. I don't ordinarily use these little plastic covers, but it's not terribly obtrusive. But I'm definitely leaving them in here. We're going to see how things go. Endpoints came out pretty good. It turned out I didn't need to run any sub-trim. This is those 1 in 50 occurrences where you swap in a servo and miraculously, where is my rear body post? And miraculously, things just work. Fumble, and yeah, definitely get the rear body post on first. This body, you're absolutely correct. You're correct to remind me, if you've got a body it's got the rattlies, it's kind of hard to reproduce on the bench. You remove that body, you get yourself pop possibilities. Sticky back foam sheet. It's got peely back on it. I use this for everything. Put it on your battery trays. If you have fasteners holding your battery trays down, put this down over them. That way the fastener's not going to try to rub a hole in your battery. I have a little piece of wood that is cut to a random width. I think, you know what I think it is? I think it's this. No, it's not this. Anyway, I have a piece of wood cut for when I'm doing the dual stage inserts, and I make little squares. I cut a strip, and then I cut them into squares. You could use a ruler, you can use whatever. Then you get your old buddy. Everybody's got a hole punch laying around, right? And you go in the middle-ish. And there you go. There you go. If you're feeling spicy and you don't want them to peel off as fast, you can nip your little corners off. If you have a punch, you can punch them out round. And then you take your body and you peel the back off and you stick these on. That's the fun of the sticky back. Get your hold of the line up pretty close. And there you go. Then, of course, you do that 3 more times, and there you have it. Get some little sticky back boys in there, and if they perform as they have always performed in the past, the noise generated during driving will be reduced fairly substantially for the low cost of I still have foam sheets from when my kids were in Scouts. So I have foam sheets that are a decade old. So if you have to buy them, I think it's $1 here in America, and that's at a craft store. I've never even bothered to look to see if they have them at like dollar stores. But yeah, I mean, and did I mention we're definitely far enough in that I'm forgetting what I've talked about and what I haven't. I put super glue and then accelerator, kicker, or what do they call theirs? Quick set, insta set, the stuff, super glue, cyanoacrylate accelerator. I put it on every point of the little plastic buttons. You know, remember this guy was popping off. I put it on every little plastic button. And I would like to point out, yeah, I definitely didn't mention this, but I was talking to myself about it in my head. Every single one was loose. Every single one. There's the door handles, 2 on each mirror. There's the wipers. There's this. Every little single plastic little bubbin in there was loose. So I used a tool. I used a 5mm wrench like this and pushed down over them to get all the fender flares tight. There are, I might have missed count, there are at least 41 little points that you have to put glue on inside. Otherwise, if you don't, there's a very RC 4-wheel drive thing going on where if you get your RC 4-wheel drive RTR and you bring it home and then you take it out of the box, RC 4-wheel drives are not RTR. They're not even close, because if you don't take them apart and thread lock all the fasteners, your vehicle will literally fall apart while you're driving it. Stuff will be falling off. So this body carries with it the spirit of the RC 4-wheel drive. RC 4-wheel drive RTRs are not RTR. They are pre-assembled, of their pre-assembly, in which it will fall apart. This body, I'm telling you, if you manage to get a full pack out of it without having mirrors and door handles and stuff fall off, you will truly have done something, because I had the passenger mirror fell off twice. The only part you wouldn't have to worry about is the roof rack, which you have to install yourself, and it is held in place with body clips. So that's not coming off. Both of the little pins on this were loose. This thing was just hanging down because it was so loose it was ready to fall off. Yeah. Super glue. Element should just be kind on us. I'm picking up from where I cut all the little foam bits. They were just flying all over the bench. Element should include for us just one of those little tubes of super glue so that we can glue all those pieces on. But, I mean, if you wanted to paint the body from the outside, it would be nice that you can just pop everything apart, paint it, stick all your little bits back on, and then super glue them back on. This is not my first Element body. I've got a Zool and 2 Ectos and an Enduro, but an Enduro doesn't use any of the little poppy bits, I don't think. No, it does not. So, plenty of the poppy bits on the Ecto and the Zool. I think I've had like one door handle come loose. I don't know what it is about these, but they did not want to stay on. And I don't want to stay inside anymore. This thing is, maybe it's deceptive, but when I pick it up, man, it feels like it weighs nothing. I know we trend heavy around here. I need a... Now I don't know what battery's in it. Oh, man. Okay, this one's fully charged, so I don't know what that one is. It's too late. It's much quicker to just put this in my pocket. That's why we go with 1500s and 2200s, because they're small. You can just put the extra one in your pocket. Will this be able to sit across and we'll be able to see it? No, not at all. We need a foam or something. I don't think this ever got put in anything. That weighs 11 grams. We got to get it just right. 2540. 2540 in the grams, which is 5.6 pounds. Again, we're in that middle. Between 5 and 6 pounds is most things. I don't know. Maybe it's the size of it or the scale of it or the way the weight is distributed. But when I pick it up, it does not feel like it weighs that. We should be a hair lighter than stock, or even if we're at stock weight, our balance will be improved, because the only place we've actually added weight is in the wheels. Yeah. We took some plastics off, which isn't going to save much. Our servo went in is a little heavier. Anyway, we're going to see how it does. We've got the bag with the tusks in it right here. We're geared up to head outside. Such a quiet boy. It's just driving over all the parts of his former self. All right. Once again, I'll meet you out there, and we'll see what our wholesale group of changes have made. I feel like the youngster here, and I want you to pay close attention to. This thing is absurdly quiet. Has a sort of, I don't want to go deep into the gender theory here, but has given off like a lady energy. I've been calling her Ruby as we go along. Ruby might stick. And honestly, in this amount of time that we've spent, it feels so good. Oh, you go, girl. Just not, come on. Come on, bounty hunter. There it is. During this process, something has happened in which I want to change little. I want to change as little as possible, because you know what? This feels like she's got a real, honestly, a real baseline feel where there's a capability above and beyond the sum of the parts. I'm sure that at some point in the future, the IFS-1 will flip a switch to betrayal mode, not trail mode, betrayal mode, and suddenly, I don't know, self-disassemble something. But wheeling this thing around is kind of a gas, man. And oh yeah, I don't know if it's just more what I'm used to or what I'm enjoying in the process here, or the fact that I only have one rig in the fleet on 3.93. I have two rigs on the fleet on 3.93 tires. I keep forgetting that the 1.9 Hot Bodies Rovers are 393s. So when we're talking about 393, which is what, 98 millimeters, 96 millimeters, something in that small, I forget how slow it makes a vehicle. Because the two vehicles, Lil Fella runs the 393 Rovers, and Rusty runs these exact Bounty Hunters in 393. I forget how much reduction in speed it gives you, because both of those rigs do not have a lot in the way of gear reduction helping them. They don't have a lot of mechanical advantage. Rusty is a TRX4 on Vanquish F10 straights, and Lil Fella is an MST Jimny, which has the gear reduction of a pan car. So he just tends to be very fast. So the 393s helped slow him down, and he still runs I think he runs a 90-tooth spur with like a 14-tooth pinion. So we're trying to get as much gear reduction into that boy as possible on 393s. This, on the other hand, the 393 still lends to such slow speed on the Fusion SE 1200 that I dropped the spur from an 87 to a 78. And in 48 pitch, if memory serves, every 3 teeth of spur is like if you remove 3 teeth of spur, it's like adding 1 tooth of pinion. So I added 2 teeth of pinion going to a 24, dropped 3 teeth of spur. So it's effectively like on the stock spur, we would be running 2787, which at first blush you go, oh, that's a lot. That's not even 3, that's over 3 to 1. That's not even under 3 to 1. So a belt drive is usually like 2.4 to 1 or 2.6 to 1. So 2787 is not crazy gearing at all. It's not even close. And a 2478 is similarly, that would be what? Oh, that gets into primes really quick. 1239. Oh, that helps though. 1239, 36 with 3 left over. 4. That's 3.25 to 1. We're dead 3.25 to 1. That is acceptable gearing, and we have the Fusion set up in like what is my default configuration, which is drag brake, rate and force both at halfway. And let's see, we'll get right onto the beam. It's an electronic anchor. It's going to hold you. And this is an SE. There's even more drag brake in a Fusion, in a Pro, the 2300 in the Pro. Now, if I were going to take this thing out, if I were going to use this thing, I got it, Ruby. I need to stop referring to you as a thing. If I was going to take Ruby out for more all-rounding, for more actual trailing, I would most likely put a Pro in there, 2300, because then we could still do this stuff. Well, let's wrap it around to the front. Oh, she's so wonderfully quiet. Let's wrap it around this way. We can still do the proper slow-mo, but then that 2300 gives you all that top end. Get up there. Honestly, it is surprising to me. She is surprising to me on more than one level, because yeah, I feel that I want to do it, but I don't want to do it. I feel some of that clearance problem inherent with IFS 1. The clearance is just better on IFS 2. And I feel the desire to pursue due diligence, and it will be a good one. I don't know if we'll call it installment 3 of this when we get around to that, or what we will call it, but I can set up IFS 2 without touching any portion of IFS 1. Like, I can mount a servo to it and get it centered and everything, and we can basically hot swap IFS 1 out and IFS 2 in. The only thing would be the servo, and oh yeah, it just puts it in the normal position. I can mount a tray side, so it'll be battery beside the servo. It won't be a problem. It will mount exactly like this. So we will get to, in the future, we will get to witness a direct side-by-side, one after the other immediate test of IFS 1 versus IFS 2. I'm not mad at IFS 1 at all. And maybe that's because I drove IFS 2 before, and I knew what to expect in terms of independent suspension. Like, you don't go into some lines and angles as hard as you would on live axles all around. But even with this small tire, and okay, small tire people, I know you're there and you are you're doing that thing. You've got your arms crossed in front of you and you're nodding approvingly. You're like, yes, he's finally figuring it out. He's gonna one of us. It has its place, but I'll just say it as it is. I'm a 465 guy. 465 is my favorite size of tire. That belly is long. I am enjoying the limitations and the real scale appearance of it for something that is predominantly Lexan. It's pretty scale. I'm really happy with this, and it has strayed less far from its roots as both what it is as an Element Trailrunner and as an RTR. Yeah, I changed the electronics and the wheels and tires. But the thing of that is, I don't see any other points that aggressively need to be addressed. Yeah, you got to glue all your little points on, and, you don't have to put in your snorkel if you don't want. It comes pre-drilled for the mirrors. You do have to drill if you want to get your roof rack on, and the roof rack's not necessary. You could run it all stripped down. I wanted all the gubbins. We can overland it all the way out, and you can put a fake roof tent on there. Does it need a Woodawata? Every time, man. You want to talk about being infected by a meme? If I am in a parking lot, if I see one on the freeway, if I see any vehicle, particularly a 4Runner, and it has got a ladder on it, rent-free in my head, there it is. Oh, you got a Woodawata? You got a Woodawata on your 4x4? Every time. And I hold nothing against, I have nothing for or against people who put Woodawaters on their cars. But man, nobody knows how memes work, but every once in a while one gets in you. Oh, you got a Woodawata? Now I got to try to find a Woodawata because this guy needs one. I'm having the best time, honestly, everybody. I'm having the best time. Let us put on a different set of tires and see if it helps or hinders, because honestly, she feels so great right now. Like, I would be content as is. Done. No need for build, no need for massive fabrication. Let's throw some bits and bobs on her. And then, at the most, we might have to add a little bit of brass to the front or into the rings of the wheels to offset the added weight of an ice chest on the roof. But other than that, I'm strangely impressed. I was quickly, and I mean instantly, reminded of the thing I'm forgetting that she needs more than anything else. And that is wheel hexes that have a little set screw in them. 3 of the 4 wheel hexes came off with the wheels, and 2 of the 3 wheel pins fell out. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I don't think they could be. I don't know if these are the wheels, but the look of the tusk on there, 419, this is not a 385 rig. This is not a 393 rig. This is a class 1 rig. Look at those. Those look perfect. They're the absolute perfect size. And I know that look, the black with the shiny scale hardware on that fire body, and I don't mean it like rap song wise. I mean, that's what they call it. They call it fire. With each moment of driving this, I am more and more glad that I didn't get the white one. Because a lot of the personality comes out of the body, I think. Oh, stay. You're still in frame. Oh, boop. Oh, yeah. And now, you know what has happened? Power creep. Power creep is happening. Now, I am anxious to test IFS2 on this. Because I have now dimmed memories of IFS2 in the missing link. And I do remember the clearance being better. I cannot get my head around how much better it looks dimensions-wise by going up from 393 to 419. 10 millimeters. That is an enormous 10 millimeters. And the Tusk, the Class 1 Tusk, might be the best of them. Look at this. We get a little bit of boat noise. We get a little... But what a thing we've got. What a thing we've got. So we have a couple things to consider here. $275 for an RTR. And the important part of that RTR is RTR by the Canyon definition, by the definition of pretty much anybody who follows the Canyon, is ready to replace. It is not ready to run. There are a number of parts that we're going to have to replace, but we didn't. We didn't have to. I have changed nothing of the DNA of the vehicle, and I include within that adding the gears that came in there to take it to 12%. That 12% is helping, but it's not making all the difference. 1.9 Tusks are making the difference. Get that belly through. Performance is limited by independent front, but to a degree. This is dumb right here, but I'm gonna stay in it anyway. She might have her biggest tumble yet because I can't see what the rear end is doing. Swing it, swing it, swing it. You got this. You got this. Don't cut loose. You got it. Ooh. Force it down. Force it down. No, not yet. Now cut back. Almost. Okay, got to get your bumper past. A little more. A little more. Okay. Oh. Little reverto. Pull it down. And now cut it back. Cut it back. No added weight. No change of the elemental parts. What we have is we had to change the electronics, and the exceptions grow ever fewer of RTRs that you don't need to replace the electronics. Element will never gain any bonus points. They will never get a cookie from me for continually including, now no more SC480. Now they've gone to the 2 ABS. With the G4P, the Fly Sky, poo-poo, caca, the poo-pooiest and the cacaiest. It's not better. They've not moved in the correct direction. There's genuinely no excuse for them to keep giving us not just brushed motors, but really, really bad brushed motors. You can buy the motor ESC combo that is in there retail for $69.99 all day. You could honestly get away with an Amazon Blue Case servo in here, which will cost you about $30. And our tried, true, and trusty RC4GS will cost you another $60. So you're at about $160 in. And then we're talking $80 for wheels and tires, $250. So yeah, it's every other RTR on the planet. If you're trying to keep it under $500, you can nickel and dime yourself into doing so. But the important takeaway here that I have is this. You don't need to change anything fundamental about the vehicle. The IFS1 has a limitation in terms of it not being as good in approach, and breakover are not as good on 1 as they are on 2. They definitely improved the 2. The 2 feels more fluid. You feel like you're, this is a very technical term, I call it bonking, where you just bonk into a rock where you think, oh, I got the clearance for this, and it goes bonk. There definitely appears to be more clearance at the center. The skid angle is better on IFS2, but the IFS1 is eminently livable. Think of this as like, you bought a 4Runner or a Tacoma and you haven't done any work to it. It's factory stock. You put some big tires on it, which is kind of what we did here. We went to, like, you know, if this is 10th scale, those would be 42s. we went from 38s to 42s, which is it's a thing. We're not getting aggressive. It passes the test. It passes Marie's elemental test in that it does spark joy. It is fun to drive and it is good to look at, and its limitations in performance are to be understood, because none of the limitations of performance realistically are in DNA. As I'm looking at it right now, I think that the light is hitting it just right. Where the lower arm turns into like spindle and attaches to the knuckle, I can see where a problem could arise. The new knuckle uses more of like a pillow ball style attachment, like what you'd find on a buggy. That down there is, look at, oh, that is way fair thin down there. So yeah, we could have some problems, but treat it as if it is a factory stock vehicle. But it's got a Stealth X, which is a fantastic gearbox. I've never had a problem with an Element rear axle. I've blown out plenty of front ring and pinions. But, you know, that's me. So if you are in the market, if you're looking for something like this, Class 1s, proper Class 1s, your choice. I think the tusks look magnificent, but dirt tracks, pivots, mallets. Oh no. Ooh, she would look good in those mallets. Ooh, she's gonna have a day. She's gonna have a tire day. Will it be next to impossible to unseat the Class 1 tusk? Will it be almost impossible to get them off of her? Maybe. But what we do is we find out together. We have done some sitting and some talking and some real. Look, this is just enjoyable. It is just enjoyable. And what we had to change is what we have to change on virtually everything. We just come into with these expectations, and that is where the shame exists. For them. Shame on them. Shame on us on a little for continuing to allow it to happen, but shame on them for pushing it on us. We're going to give you junk. We're going to give you junk. And if they can sell this and not lose money, presumably, I doubt they ever go below invoice. If they can sell us this as an RTR format for $275, if you sell this to me as a kit with the body, kit with body, like Charisma would do, or Cross, or any of those, you put this out as a kit for, well, obviously you could do it for $199, couldn't you? Couldn't you? You don't even have to give us wheels and tires. I would snap it up. I would snap them up all day. But we are where we are, and there are some fights, there are some battles that you fight knowing that you'll never win them. Oh, she go. Ruby is good. Today is good. What a good day. What a great day. I thank you so much for being here with me. Look forward to a minimum, a bare minimum of an additional 2 installments of basically what is a quadrilogy, the Ruby quadrilogy, which is the Quickview Part 1, which you are right now, the Quickview Part 2. We are going to do IFS 1 versus IFS 2 head-to-head, and then Ruby is, of course, going to get a tire day, because if you don't hit the magic, and she might have hit the magic, but we don't know until we know. Most rigs get a tire day, where they go through at least 4 or 5 different options. She went 0 to 100 real quick. Going from, it wasn't that long ago that she was on 385 General Grabber ATs, and she is now on Class 1 Tusks. That is almost like going straight to nukes. It's really good. She's really good. And limitations that we accept because it's not a stunt. I think, honestly, maybe this is trailing arm speaking, but the missing link was built here on the workbench. during the live stream with trailing arm rear and IFS2 in the front and a Stealth XF, I like driving this more. So take away from that what you will. So you know what might have to happen to the missing link? He might actually end up having to be the proper missing link, where we put IFS2 on her and put her IFS1 on his hind end. Oh no! The monsters are alive. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me here for these installments. I look forward to seeing you again very soon. In between now and then, please, one and all, do your very best to have a good one, everybody. Yeah, it's an RTR. Boop. At the end of the day, they end up costing $500. And while I'm not a huge fan of it, I do kind of have to say it is what it is, because it doesn't look like it's going to change. We have to kind of hope that they stay where they are and that the price doesn't just keep climbing. There are 550 RTRs out there. This is not ready to run, not ready to replace. This is JOY. We are in joy. We've gone from RTR to joy for what it would cost to buy a proper RTR. Dropping that $500, and it needs nothing. She needs no. That's not true. She needs clamping wheel hexes. That is a distinct quality of life improvement. Yeah. That's that. Ruby, the trail runner, who is gonna get wheel hexes, and she might end up just looking like this for the near remainder of her days. Let's not say forever. Forever is a big claim. What a good time we had. Thanks again to everybody. Midwest goodbye completed. Farewell from the canyon. We'll look forward to seeing you next time with whatever shenanigans we come up with next. Listen how quiet she is. What a great thing. Thanks, everybody.